Chapter 1. The Boarding Call. Some journeys start long before you ever set foot on a plane. For Marcus Reynolds, this flight wasn't just a trip from point A to point B. It was a confrontation, a quiet war he'd fought too many times to count. A seat on a plane, a fleeting moment of peace, and then the inevitable test. Would he let himself be shoved aside, or would he hold his ground? Where are you reading this from today? Drop a comment. We'd love to hear from you. The airport buzzed like a living thing. Heels clacked against the gleaming tile floors. Voices melted into a steady hum, punctuated by bursts of laughter or the sharp cry of a child. The air carried the thick aroma of overpriced coffee mingled with the faint tang of jet fuel drifting in from the tarmac. Marcus moved through the chaos with a calm that came from years of practice. His shoulders were loose, his stride unhurried, but his eyes missed nothing. Decades of life had sharpened his senses. He noticed who stared, who averted their gaze, who sized him up and made their quiet assumptions. At the first-class gate, he handed his boarding pass to the woman behind the counter. She wore the airline's crisp navy uniform. Her name tag, reading Lydia. For a split second, her fingers hesitated over the ticket, her eyes darting from the paper to his face. Marcus knew that pause. He'd felt its weight before. A flicker of surprise, a silent question. But Lydia recovered quickly, flashing a practiced smile as she scanned the pass and waved him through. The plane's cabin was a different world. The air was cooler, tinged with the scent of leather seats and the faint sterile bite of recycled oxygen. Marcus found his row, 2A wide, plush seat by the window, and settled in. He exhaled, letting the tension in his back unwind. The world often felt like it was pressing down on him, but here, for a few hours, he could breathe. Then a shadow loomed over him. A man stood in the aisle, tall, broad-shouldered, with graying hair and a watch that screamed money. His posture radiated first-class entitlement, the kind that didn't ask, only expected. "You're in my seat," he said, his voice sharp with irritation. Marcus glanced at his ticket, then back at the man. "No, I'm not." Before the stranger could reply, a flight attendant appeared. Her name, tag, read Clara. She wore a polite smile, but there was a firmness behind it. "Sir," she said, addressing Marcus, "would you mind switching seats? There is a mix-up with the booking, and this gentleman has priority status." There was again the same old nudge, the assumption that he didn't belong, as if he'd stumbled into a space that wasn't his to claim. Marcus took a slow breath. "I paid for this seat," he said evenly. "I'm not moving." Clara's smile faltered, a crack appearing in her composure. The other passengers nearby shifted, some pretending not to notice, others watching openly. This was a moment, and Marcus knew how these moments usually ended. But not today. Chapter 2. The Stand. The tension in the cabin thickened, heavy as a storm cloud ready to burst. Clara signaled to another crew member, and within seconds, a younger attendant named Ethan arrived. He had the eager energy of someone who believed his uniform gave him unquestionable authority. "Sir," Ethan said, his tone laced with forced patience, "we really need you to move. We have a system for priority passengers, and unfortunately, this seat wasn't meant for you." Marcus held their gaze, his expression calm and unreadable. He'd danced this dance before, different places, different faces, same steps. But today felt different. The man beside them, the one with the expensive watch, smirked, arms crossed, as if the outcome was already decided. "I paid for this seat," Marcus repeated, his voice steady as stone. "It's mine." The older man scoffed. "Come on, let's not make this a thing." A few heads turned. Passengers shifted in their seats, torn between curiosity and the urge to stay out of it. "Sir," Clara said, her patience thinning, "we can offer you a seat in business class. It's still a premium experience." Marcus almost laughed. The words were so polite, so polished, even as they tried to push him out. His fingers brushed the phone in his lap. One call, that's all it would take. He knew exactly who to reach, exactly whose name would make them regret every syllable they'd uttered. But he waited. "Final chance," Ethan said, stepping closer. "If you don't move, we'll have to escalate this." Marcus smiled, slow and deliberate. He lifted the phone to his ear. "Go ahead," he said, his voice smooth as silk. "Let's escalate." The line barely rang once before a voice answered. Calm, measured, the kind that carried weight. Marcus didn't need to say much. A name, a flight number, and a quiet, "It's happening again." That was enough. As he lowered the phone, the air in the cabin shifted. Clara and Ethan exchanged uneasy glances, their confidence starting to fray. They'd expected him to back down, maybe grumble a little. Not this quiet, unshakable certainty. Passengers who'd been ignoring the scene now watched openly. Whispers rippled through the rows. The older man, the so-called priority passenger, tapped his foot impatiently. "Jesus," he muttered, just loud enough to carry. "This is ridiculous." It didn't take long. Clara's earpiece buzzed. She pressed a hand to it, her face tightening as she listened. Without a word, she turned and hurried toward the cockpit. Ethan, who'd been so smug moments before, now looked uncertain. "Sir, if you could just—" A sharp voice cut through the cabin. "Everyone, please remain seated. We'll be delaying takeoff briefly." It was the pilot, his tone clipped, urgent. Passengers exchanged looks. Delays were common, but this felt charged. Then the real change came. A man in a navy suit strode down the aisle, his steps quick and purposeful. Not a flight attendant, not a gate agent. This was someone higher up. His name tag glinted under the cabin lights. James Holden, regional manager. The two attendants stepped back as if stung. Holden's eyes locked onto Marcus. Sharp and assessing, but there was something else there too, recognition. "Mr. Reynolds," Holden said, his voice tight. "I am so sorry for this misunderstanding." A murmur spread through the cabin. Heads turned, passengers trying to place the name. Marcus tilted his head slightly, watching Holden with cool patience. "A misunderstanding," he echoed. Holden, probably some mid-level exec tasked with fixing messes like this, cleared his throat. "This is not how we treat our passengers. I sincerely apologize. I can assure you the staff involved will be dealt with appropriately." Ethan paled. Clara took a small step away, distancing herself from the fallout. Marcus exhaled, running a hand along the armrest. "Interesting," he said, because it felt pretty intentional. Holden flinched. "Sir, I assure you." Marcus raised a hand, cutting him off. The whispers grew louder. "Allow me to personally oversee this, Mr. Reynolds. We'll ensure your flight experience remains." Marcus turned, finally looking at the man who tried to take his seat. "Still think this is ridiculous?" The man shifted, uncomfortable. "Look, I didn't know who you were." Marcus's smile was small but sharp. "That's the point, isn't it?